Hi, welcome to the 7-set video series of critical issues for purchasers to be aware of in relation to building and pest matters when they're buying a residential property. My name is Ryan Craig. I'm the owner and consultant of QC's Building Services, a licensed building and pest inspection company that has been carrying out inspections on residential properties within Brisbane and Greater Brisbane for around 20 years now. And that history and work experience and what I've seen over time from purchasers and my clients has driven me to create this video series, because it's become pretty clear to me that most, if not all, purchasers I deal with have very little understanding of the information within this 7-set series, despite the fact that it contains really critical stuff for them to minimize their risks of buying properties that are not what they think they are. They're not representative of the marketing information, saving money and potential financial loss, and also emotional stress from not having the information contained within this video series. So that's what drove me to make this video series about these critical issues. There are 7 videos, and the first one is all about the incorrect manner that residential properties are marketed to the general public. Quite astoundingly, based on our experiences over the years, we've found out that what is on realestate.com and Domain and other marketing forums via the internet is often, on 50% of the time, when it's tested through a formal search with the relevant council authority about the property, they don't match up. So a 4-bedroom, 2-bath on the internet, the council records will show that it's either incomplete building work, informal building work, illegal building work, or it's not got a final inspection certificate. So it's basically a block of land. So people are buying a 4-bedroom, 2-bath on the internet, but in reality, officially it's only a block of land and it's not finished. So that's the first video. The second video will all be about the different service levels for building and pest inspection companies and what you should know as a purchaser, because there's a huge difference between companies from the amount of information you get, the type of information you get, and also the manner in which it's provided in the report. So there's generic tick and flick reports, or there's comprehensively written reports explaining their findings with digital photography and videos of defects. So there's a big difference, and we'll cover that in number 2. Number 3 is discussions and in relation to a more common practice that's happening now, which is where vendors provide building and pest reports for potential purchasers of their property. And what we'll do in this video, number 3, is explain some things to be aware of that could affect you as a purchaser, and issues that you can do, or things you can do to avoid being caught out by some of these issues. Number 4 in the series is some great information about building and pest contract matters, specifically the terms and clauses in the contract that is used for the purchase and sale of a property, building and pest, and a really good segment in this video, number 4, of what search you should do, legal search, to ensure that you're buying the right property, and validate what is being marketed as being correct by doing this search. And as I said a little earlier, over 50% of the time, people are buying properties in Brisbane that are not correct or not accurate in terms of the way they've been marketed. The 5th video is all about what time allocation you must get or should get in relation to the building and pest clause in the contract to have the building and pest inspection done. Very important that you get the right time. We'll explain why that is and what can happen if you don't. And the 6th video in the series is all about verbal advice, which is a very common thing to be proffered in the industry, particularly by agents and vendors. Any claim that might be made, we'll discuss why you shouldn't believe that or act on that, and why you should validate that in a formal manner, in a written manner, and substantiate it prior to making any decisions, because our experiences show that the greater majority of any verbal claim made is often a far distance from the reality when it's tested. And the facts are found out. And the last video is all about what the need for you or a purchaser to make a formal request of the vendor to provide evidence and to provide a purchaser of any details about a known issue they may have in a property. Sadly, when you buy a property, residential property in Queensland or Brisbane, the attitude is very much buyer beware culture, and there's no legal obligation for the seller of a property to disclose a known issue to a purchaser. Quite the opposite. What we find when we do inspections is there's a concerted effort from almost all vendors to hide known defects and conceal them. How do we know this? It's because when we do the inspections and we find defects and we then ask the vendor for feedback about any defect we might find, they always say, oh yes, and they give us a story about it, which shows that they were aware of it. However, our client is not, our purchaser is not. So there's been a deliberate effort not to advise. A classic one would be termite history, or where there's been termites at the property and the vendor knew but they didn't tell someone about it. So those are the 7 key issues that we'll cover. Today's video is all about verbal information, the perils of it, what to consider about it, and how to avoid getting caught up by a very common practice which can be deadly if you don't treat it with the respect it needs to. Okay. Our experience when we go and do our jobs is we often get claims made to us by vendors or marketing agents, and we've learned that you can just never ever act or believe what you're told, notwithstanding the environment or situation, until you actually get confirmation in a formal manner by doing a search or have someone provide documentation certification, or any verbal claim is backed up in writing by the person making the verbal claim. Why I say that is because more often than not, about 90% of the time, just with what we're told building and pest wise, and what we hear our clients are told because they tell us and then they tell us later they've found out is incorrect. So what we're told and what our clients are told by vendors and marketing agents is just not true. It's just not true. It sounds good, it sounds nice, it sounds what is needed to be told to the purchaser to make everything happy and good for them to buy the property, but often it's just a fabrication and not the truth, sadly. So what you can do to avoid that is, as we said before, always get it in writing, and you will find out very quickly if someone's making a claim verbally to you. Once you ask them to substantiate that in writing by sending an email and say, that's great, thank you very much, send me an email just confirming that, I look forward to getting it. There will be no email coming your way if it is not factually true, and the silence will be deafening. So that's one way to quickly substantiate anything verbal told to you. Let it go in one ear and out the other and say, thank you for that. Can you please send me an email just confirming what you've just said? And that's the only way you're going to get close to the truth. Don't always believe that. There might be an occasion where someone sends you an email and it's still not right, but at least it's something to back up a verbal claim which might be clearly wrong. But always do your searches and do anything that's required to substantiate it if you need to, like validating a product, council searches, all those kind of things. Now, I'll give you an example of how this works for us, for our purchasers. We might turn up to a job and notice that there's been new building work carried out to an existing structure. They've added a deck and a roof. Now, as part of our service to the client, we will go to the marketing agent and obviously say to them, look, there's been some new building work here. It's been done in the last sort of 5 years or something. Can you please let me know or give me any documentation about this so I can have a look at it? Now, the immediate response we get on 99% of the occasion, well, 100 times of the occasion, is it's all okay, it's all been council approved, it's all been certified, and it's all been done properly. We then reply to that, well, that's fantastic, very good. Can we please have the certification, which is required under Queensland statute law, that validates this claim, because that's the only way we can know that's been done. The disappointing answer we get then, which then we start to unravel, is from the agent that they don't have the documentation, they've never seen the documentation, and then we start thinking, well, why is it that you made, we don't think, we actually say to the agent after that, well, why was it then that you suggested so strongly and made the assertion that everything was okay and it was all council approved and formal to us just a minute ago? And the answer and the reasoning behind this that we are then given is, well, the owner told me that was the case. So it very quickly moves from a statement of fact, a persuasive statement of persuasive nature, to this scenario where we've found out there's no substance or evidence that the agent has got confirming that it is formal, complete certified building work, and in fact that the owner could have, may have given them that feedback, but that's the rationale that they have. Now, once we find out if the owner's there, we ask the owner, or if they're not there, the owner, we tell our client, look, this is the situation, you've got to get this kind of documentation to substantiate that any building work is formal, it's had the necessary approvals and whatnot. If the owner is there and we can ask them, the owner will almost always fail to provide any such building documentation and not know what we're talking about. which sort of makes the claim made by the agent look pretty silly. The other scenarios where the owner is not there and then the client pursues questioning of the owner to provide this documentation that is, you know, the agent is making the claim of it being all formal, and they're never given it. Let me rephrase that. On very, very few occasions is documentation provided to actually less than 1%, I would say, to substantiate that any building work done about the property was done, in fact, formally and has been certified. Less than 1%. So we very quickly move from a verbal comment made to us about this is all okay, it's all done well, into a situation where it's clearly not, and it's easily worked out by asking a few sets of questions. That's just one example for a building and pest issue where you can see big difference between, okay, is it okay or is it not, and verbally, the risk of trusting someone verbally when they make these claims. So I hope that sort of explains why you should never, and anything about the whole process, you should not trust verbally. This is just building and pest, but I'm sure there'll be other things that are verbally proffered and said in scenarios. But the old saying is the pen is mightier than the sword. Get it in writing and do your searches and validate. Don't ever act on information that is verbal, because it could be very costly based on the scenario I gave you before, which is where it's just not true and it's misleading. So I hope this video was informative and you found it knowledgeable, and please pass it on to all of your other friends and network that you may know that are buying residential properties, because it is very good information and critical. And please watch the other 6 videos in this set, because they're all contained with, again, the same quality information that will be valuable to you and will potentially save you money, save you from buying the wrong property, or at least give you a position where you can get all the information that you need to get factually about a property and make an informed decision. Also, please visit our websites on YouTube, which is QC's Building Services, and our website www.qcsbuildingservices.com. In both of those forums, we've got many more videos which again give quality information for purchasers, and I would recommend that you try and arm yourself with as much knowledge as possible before you go and put an offer in on a property, so you're in control of the situation and you don't fall victim to all of the things that I'm mentioning here, which I see on a daily basis, which is very common. Good luck with your property hunting if you are looking. If you're not, at some stage in the future, we wish you all the best, and obviously we would love to assist you for your building and pest needs if you do find a property that you'd like to be inspected. And yeah, thank you very much for watching the video as well.